Hello everyone, welcome to another video pointing out the fallacies in the theists in the YouTube comments section. The issue with the theist arguments in the comments is that they do a horrible job of presenting their arguments. They are so adamant that they're right. They don't react well to any responses challenging them. I'm sure you've seen theists point out that what they call atheist regimes have committed horrendous genocide. They will bring up Mao and Stalin, and amusingly, they also bring up Hitler, who was a Christian and used Christianity in his movement, even having the Catholic Church assist him in the Holocaust. These comments are in response to atheists bringing up all the atrocities done in the name of religion. Most notable cases are the numerous crusades, as well as Muslim response to those crusades. But it includes things like the Belgium Congo, where 10 million of the natives were killed, and countless had their hands and feet chopped off in the rubber plantations. They said that they were bringing Christian salvation to the savages. And other cases of colonialism fall under this. And the point of these examples are to say that religion is used as a way to justify these atrocities. Obviously, the motivation of these people are greed and, in many cases, avarice and a sense of superiority. But what they do is use religion to justify how they, the white man, is superior to these natives because God made the white man special. Yes, very ironic. And they can tell themselves that it's up to them to save the souls of these pagans. So what if they suffered a little bit here on earth? They're safe from an eternal torture in the afterlife. You're welcome, right? Well, I'm not going to use this video to point out why theists are so wrong to do this whataboutism, but I will steelman the arguments made by one of our favorite troll, the raging mad J. Edith. And here, he says that Chinese communists provide more proof of atheist depravity. And he mentions 70 million slaughtered citizens this past century alone. And this is his argument for why atheism is madness. Now, I don't know if actually a 70 million that was killed by the Chinese communists in the past century. I should say it doesn't matter whether it is, whether that number is correct or if Jim just made it up. But it's when you scroll down a little bit later where he actually tries to explain his point in that calm, thoughtful way that we know from him. He says that atheism removes human significance or moral wrong, and this is a common trope from him and others. Because he's incapable intellectually or emotionally to make a coherent argument. So I will steelman his position. Now, what he is saying is that a belief in God brings meaning and value to life. It allows for a foundation for what is good and just, and without this purpose and meaning from God, atheists don't have their belief in God to stop them from committing atrocities. And ideologies, such as communism, will only bring disaster because of their nihilism. Now, let's break this down. The main crux of this position is that the only God-based moral system is objective, and subjective moral systems lead to morality where nothing can be immoral. Anything could be acceptable depending on the context. Of course, he's wrong. There are many non-theistic moral realisms, and I provided many examples that J. Edith either doesn't understand or just dismisses it by calling it a lie. Some examples are moral naturalism, constructive moral realism, moral Platonism, and Kantian deontology, etc. There's obviously a lot more. Now, not only that, non-theistic moral anti-realism doesn't mean that there's no such thing as right and wrong, or that anything could be considered right. J. Edith and others of his ilk are making an extreme straw man version of moral relativism. And the straw man is that atheists are all moral relativists, and they believe that morality is dependent on the person, culture, context, etc., which means that, for him, that there is no such thing as right or wrong. Now, for this straw man to be used to argue that atheists will commit atrocities because they don't have objective moral reality is laughable. An individual, atheist or not, doesn't say that slavery is not wrong because they have seen past cultures that allowed it. Making disgusting apologetics to defend slavery is more likely to come from Christians like J. Edith. Instead, an individual, atheist or not, will accept that society and culture influences what's considered moral or not, and works to have their own society move to their subjective view of what's moral. This is how our current society is more tolerant of gays, even though it's not yet as tolerant of trans people. And this is a reason why many people oppose Christian nationalism, and they're pushed to put Trump in the White House. What is so ironic is that his God-based moral system is completely subjective, or I should say arguably subjective. Even if we stipulate that there is some God that's somehow dictating what people should believe to be moral or not, no one can access these truths. God isn't coming down and giving us a way to determine what is moral or not. The Ten Commandments is not a moral system. It's just lists that has at best 4 items that describe what could be considered immoral. And of those, you can certainly find exceptions. And that would make it very hard to say that these are objective. If Hitler was about to discover Anne Frank in the attic, and you could murder him before he finds out, would these Christians say that it was immoral to murder? So their theistic morality depends on what they think that their God will find immoral. And you get things like the prohibition or taking away women's right to choose with this type of attitude. In this system, guys like J. Edith, if they think that their God commands them to, will kill even the younglings. He has definitely fallen to the dark side. Now, if you go back to the point from the theists, let's consider what's happening in Mao's China. When we consider who were targeted and killed in his regime, it's not just the religious, which included the Buddhists. He killed ethnic minorities, political oppositions, intellectuals, educators, cultural figures, etc. Using the steelman argument, the theists would say that they did this because they didn't have God to stop them. They didn't have God to tell them that it was wrong. And yet, we do have all kinds of examples where religious people commit atrocities. Just think about how people were tortured by the Spanish Inquisition, since no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. This seems to argue against the point that the atrocities committed by atheistic regimes was due to atheists not having morality. All these religious people, who should have had an objective moral values, did not, at the end of the day, use that to stop themselves from committing atrocities. So when they are bringing up this argument about how atheist regimes have killed all these people, what they're really doing is just giving a flimsy counter to try to detract from the harms that religion has brought, and still brings. I'm not saying all religious people are bad or immoral, but dogmatic religion that leads people to justify their bigotry or deny science, such as evolution or vaccines, is not good for our society. But if you see guys like J. Edith in the comments that they make, you can see that he really doesn't care about the actual argument. He talks about atheists not being able to deal with the horrific fact of your blood-drenched history, as if that has anything to do with atheism. They don't have any evidence for the existence of God, so what they do is they don't attack the crux of atheism, which is asking for evidence to justify belief in God. They will bring up all these other things of what the consequences of atheism is, even though it isn't a consequences of atheism. Well, that'll do it for this video. And this time I went through it pretty quickly, so if you have any comments about how quickly I was speaking, please let me know. And please like and subscribe if this type of content interests you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the comments.